Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 1 hour. President Draupadi Murmu accorded Guard of Honor, holds bilateral meeting with President of Slovak Republic on a two-nation visit. Reserve Bank of India cuts repo rate by 25 basis points to 6% for second straight time, shifts policy stance to accommodative from neutral. Trump tariffs go into effect with a combined 104% levy on China. Global markets react sharply. Trump continues to call it a tailored deal with foreign trade partners. And India bags 2 gold medals at Shooting World Cup in Argentina, surpasses China in the medal tally. Good afternoon to all our viewers joining us at this afternoon broadcast of DD India News Hour. And to begin with the latest that we are tracking for all our viewers. Well, President Draupadi Murmu is visiting Slovakia in the second leg of her two-nation state visit. This is the first visit by the President of India to Slovakia in 29 years. The President was received by President Peter Pellegrini of the Slovak Republic at the Presidential Palace in Bratislava today. The President was also accorded a ceremonial welcome with Guard of Honor. These are the visuals that you are seeing on your screen, where India's President Draupadi Murmu was received by the President of Slovak today on her arrival during the two-nation state visit, which the President is currently undertaking. Now, delegation-level talks were also held between President Draupadi Murmu and Slovakian President Peter Pellegrini. Further, the President will meet Prime Minister Robert Fico and National Council Speaker Richard Rossi. The state visit by President also reflects the importance India attaches to its bilateral relations with Slovakia, providing an opportunity to further strengthen and broaden the relationship and bilateral ties between both the countries. India's President Draupadi Murmu will also interact with the members of Indian community later in the day. Although the Iron Curtain that divided Europe between the Soviet bloc and the West during the Cold War has disappeared today, monuments that bear memories of that pain can still be seen in many places across Europe. One such monument is the Gate of Freedom Memorial on the Slovakia-Austria border, a place full of the pain of those who tried to escape to Austria on the other side of the Danube River. We've got a report. Take a look.
We are standing just below the cliff of Devon's Castle at the confluence of River Danube and Morava. In fact, the tip of Slovakia and across the river is the land of Austria. 40 years back, iron barbed wire electric fences separated these two countries. More than 400 lives were lost crossing these electric fences. They were shot down by armed guards. Behind me is the memorial of Gate of Freedom, a testimony to those sacrifices.
This memorial was unveiled in 2005 to commemorate those sacrifices. The names of more than 400 people who lost their lives to bullets while trying to escape the Iron Curtain from then communist Czechoslovakia to the west are inscribed inside the memorial. The bullets of the border guards which took their lives are symbolically depicted on this Freedom Gate. The symbol of the barbed wire fences that collapsed in the face of tireless efforts for freedom Also,
Now let's go live across to Slovakia, where the joint press statement is happening.
To Slovakia after nearly 30 years. And I appreciate very much, Madam President, your interest in our country. I'd like to thank very much also for inspiring discussions we've had so far, because it is known of you that you are a great advocate of social justice and women's rights. And your life's experience, having achieved the post of the president, it's a personification of the story of a country with a huge potential, a country which today is one of the largest economies of the world, and it is the largest democracy in the world. We're still awaiting with Madam President for a rich agenda. Tomorrow we shall be opening jointly business forum. We shall be visiting the Jaguar Land Rover assembly plant near the city of Nitra, which at this time is the largest Indian investment to Slovakia. I'd like to reiterate that Slovakia and India have very friendly relations. And despite the differences of our two countries, many topics do, in fact, join us. There is an intense political dialogue underway, and the visit of Madam President to Slovakia is a peak of these efforts, jointly in strengthening our political and bilateral relations. I'm very glad that today, during the visit of Madam President, two documents on bilateral cooperation were signed. MOUs on pertaining exchange of our diplomats, second, supporting cooperation of small and medium companies. I can declare with pleasure that substantially growing is also a mutual trade, which over the past 5 years have tripled, today reaching the level of nearly 1.3 billion euros. And I'm very pleased indeed that also Indian partners are showing more and more interest now in Slovakia. This is not only numbers and figures, but it's an expression of mutual interest and trust, underlined by a large business delegation accompanying Madam President during her visit to Slovakia. India is one of the oldest civilizations, and that is why it has a major spiritual and cultural dimension to Slovaks. That's why I also appreciate the cooperation in the field of culture. And I'm pleased that last year, translated into Slovak, were Old Indian text Upanishads. And Madam President is going to receive one such original copy in a few moments from me. And I'd like to thank our embassy in Delhi that starting later this year, there will be a week of Slovak culture held. India is an inspiration to Slovaks in many other fields. Admiration is deserved in digitization and modernization underway so rapidly in your country. That's why I'm glad that the business mission to Slovakia from India are innovative and technology companies represented, because we have good potential both in research development, IT. That's where Slovakia does have quite a bit to offer. And speaking of modern technologies and research and development, I'd like to thank the fact that there was this Indian launch vehicle, India helping in 2017 Slovakia, our first ever satellite to be brought up to the orbit, Slovak SK-Cube satellite. This has been an excellent cooperation really expressed back then between Slovakia and India. We've talked much with Madam President about artificial intelligence, because India is one of the global leaders in this field. And later this year in Paris, there will be a major summit held on AI in Paris, France. We've discussed with Madam President also ethic and moral aspects and rules of AI. It should be based on the functioning of AI should be based on. And we have agreed that modern technologies must be distributed into all levels of society. As in India, in Slovakia, is important for modern technologies to have access to any citizens, regardless of where they are born or what social standing they come from, making sure no one is left behind in this regard. Together with India, we are major advocates of multilateral functioning of the world, and we do support the functioning of our international organizations. It is key to Slovakia, and I've emphasized this yesterday in meeting a former president of UN General Assemblies. And on behalf of the Slovak Republic, I'd like to clearly declare at this place that within the United Nations, Slovakia is prepared to fully support India's bid to become a new permanent member of the UN Security Council. We've also touched upon discussing situation at the eastern border of Slovakia, that is the war conflict in Ukraine, when speaking with Madam President. And we have agreed that the solution of this conflict we do not see in further arming. We do not see either peace to be achieved on the battleground. Instead, the only way really are continued peace talks and diplomatic avenues to stop the bloodshed in Ukraine east of our border. Tomorrow with Madam President we shall listen carefully to the management of the Jaguar Land Rover assembly plant, who will brief us on the impact of the new tariff policy of the United States and President Trump in relation to the European Union, specifically our automotive industry, because 25% tariffs for car imported from EU to the US will impact directly Jaguar Land Rover, who have for now suspended their exports to the US. And this will be an interesting debate indeed for us to be able to judge the impacts on our economy, and Madam President to be able to perceive any impact on a major Indian investment in Slovakia, in the Slovak economic space. Dear Madam President, once again I'd like to welcome you most warmly in Slovakia, and I'm pleased that today you shall be visiting an important place for us, the Freedom Gate at the Devon Castle, which commemorates all the victims of the communist regime, those who tried to flee and were apprehended, either called, tortured, or even killed in the process. And also I'm pleased that on your ship cruise on a Danube River, you will be able to see our capital city from another perspective. And it again be a great honor once again to welcome you this evening at the Bratislava Castle, where at your honor we shall hold a state dinner attended by the most important government representatives and businesses who have joint activities with Indian companies, so that together we can remind ourselves yet again our mutual friendship and to send out signal to the citizens of both of our countries that we shall continue in this friendship. May I conclude by thank you very much, dear Madam President, for your warm-felt invitation to me to visit India. I look forward to very much to making this happen, hoping at a date of mutual convenience this shall be done. All the best to you, Madam President, and I wish you a successful stay in Slovakia.
Sa páči, Jej Excelencia, pani indická prezidentka.
धन्यवाद, सभी को नमस्कार। मुझे स्लोवाकिया आकर अत्यंत प्रसन्नता हो रही है। ये इस खूबसूरत देश की मेरी पहली राज्य की यात्रा है। मैं राष्ट्रपति पेलेग्रिनी और स्लोवाकिया के लोगों को मेरी और मेरे प्रतिनिधि मंडल के गर्मजोशी भरे स्वागत और आतिथ्य के लिए धन्यवाद देती हूँ। मैं भारत के लोगों की ओर से ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं लेकर आई हूँ। भारत और स्लोवाकिया के बीच संबंध आपसी सम्मान, लोकतांत्रिक आदर्श और वैश्विक सहयोग के लिए साझा दृष्टिकोण पर आधारित है। हमारे दोनों देश अंतर्राष्ट्रीय मंचों पर एक दूसरे का समर्थन करते हैं, जो हमारी गहरे दोस्ती को दर्शाता है। हमारे व्यापार संबंध फल फूल रहे हैं और हाल के वर्षों में हमारे व्यापार और निवेश में उल्लेखनीय वृद्धि हुई है। मैं इस अवसर पर यूक्रेन से भारतीय छात्रों को निकालने का दौरान स्लोवाकिया के लिए अटूट समर्थन के लिए धन्यवाद व्यक्त करना चाहूँगी। भारत स्लोवाकिया के सहयोग और उदारता को सदैव याद रखेगा, जो सच्चे साझेदारी और मित्रों के रूप में हमारे संबंध को मजबूत करेगा। स्लोवाकिया में भारतीय प्रवासी में बढ़े रहे जो हमारे दोनों देशों के बीच लोगों के बीच संपर्क में योगदान दे रहे हैं। देवियों और स्वजनों, आज सुबह राष्ट्रपति पेलेग्रिनी के साथ मेरे रचनात्मक बैठक हुई। हमने अपने द्विपक्षीय संबंधों के सभी महत्वपूर्ण पहलुओं की समीक्षा की और साझा वैश्विक और क्षेत्रीय हितों के मुद्दों पर भी चर्चा की। मैंने हमारे देशों के बीच संबंधों को मजबूत करने की दिशा में उनकी व्यक्तिगत पहल और प्रतिबद्धता को भी सराहना की है। हमने व्यापार और निवेश, विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी, रक्षा, डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी, माइग्रेशन और मोबिलिटी, अंतरिक्ष, परमाणु सहयोग, संस्कृति और सभी क्षेत्रों को शामिल करते हुए अपने दीर्घकालीन द्विपक्षीय संबंधों को और मजबूत करने और लोगों से लोगों के बीच संपर्कों को और बढ़ावा देने का संकल्प किया। हम यूनाइटेड नेशंस और अन्य बहुपक्षीय मंचों में अपने समन्वय और सहयोग को मजबूत करने पर सहमत हुए। मेरी यात्रा के दौरान मैं भारतीय परिषद के अध्यक्ष और प्रधानमंत्री फिट्सो के साथ भी मिलूंगी। चर्चा सहयोग के क्षेत्रों को मजबूत करने पर केंद्रित होगी। कल राष्ट्रपति पेलेग्रिनी और मैं संयुक्त रूप से इंडिया स्लोवाक बिजनेस फोरम का उद्घाटन करेंगे और नित्रा में टाटा जागुआर लैंड रोवर प्लांट का दौरा करेंगे। आर्थिक सहयोग पर स्लोवाक सरकार के फोकस को देखते हुए मेरे साथ एक मजबूत ट्रेड डेलीगेशन है। मुझे विश्वास है कि ये बातचीत हमारे द्विपक्षीय संबंधों को और मजबूत करने में मदद करेगी। मैं एक बार फिर महामहिम राष्ट्रपति जी, आपके शानदार आतिथ्य के लिए आपको धन्यवाद देती हूँ। मुझे विश्वास है कि स्लोवाक गणतंत्र की मेरी यात्रा हमारे द्विपक्षीय संबंधों को मजबूत करने में मदद करेगी। धन्यवाद।
Ďakujem veľmi pekne pánovi prezidentovi aj pani prezidentke vám.
And Slovakia, there you saw the live visuals from Slovakia, where a joint press statement was being held. And the president of Slovakia said that India is one of the largest economies of the world, and joint business forum shall also be open tomorrow, along with the president of India. Now, Slovakia and India have friendly relations, and intense political dialogue is currently underway between the two nations. Apart from that, MOUs will also support small and medium companies, and Indian partners are showing more and more interest in Slovakia, as per the president of Slovak. And he further said that cooperation in the field of culture has also been appreciated. Now, one of the Upanishad's original copy has also been shared with the president of India by the president of Slovak. India is an inspiration to Slovaks, including digitalization and modernization that is happening at a rapid pace. He further said that AI has also been discussed with India, as India stands as one of the global leaders in AI, which is artificial intelligence. He further said that Slovakia fully supports India's bid to become a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. On the other hand, speaking on the occasion, President of India, Draupadi Murmu, said that India and Slovakia support each other on an international platform, and both the countries share a healthy trade relationship with each other as well. She further thanked Slovakia for helping in the Ukraine operation for bringing back the Indian students from Ukraine at the time of crisis. And both the nations discussed various topics during their bilateral discussion and focused on multiple important topics. topics, including strengthening bilateral relationship between the two countries. They touched on business, technology, science, migration and cultural sectors which were focused during the discussion, and the President also hoped that this will further strengthen the bilateral relationship of both India and Slovakia. Moving on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday emphasized the importance of Jain literature in shaping India's rich intellectual and spiritual heritage, calling it the backbone of India's intellectual grandeur. He was addressing a gathering at the Navkar Mahamantra Divas at Vigyan Bhavan in New Delhi. Prime Minister further said that preserving ancient Jain texts is a national duty. Prime Minister highlighted the government's decision to grant classical language status to Prakrit and Pali, which are two ancient Indian languages deeply intertwined with Jain and Buddhist traditions. Prime Minister further pointed out how the architectural and cultural influence of Jainism is reflected in the new Parliament building. A magnificent painting of Lord Mahavir adorns the roof of the Constitution Hall, and all 24 Tirthankaras are also depicted on the wall. Prime Minister Narendra Modi emphasized that New India will continue to uphold the values of its ancient traditions even while advancing through modern technology.
नवकार महामंत्र का ये दर्शन विकसित भारत के विजन से जुड़ता है। मैंने लाल किले से कहा है, विकसित भारत यानी विकास भी, विरासत भी। एक ऐसा भारत जो रुकेगा नहीं, ऐसा भारत जो थमेगा नहीं, जो ऊंचाई छुएगा लेकिन अपनी जड़ों से नहीं कटेगा। विकसित भारत अपनी संस्कृति पर गर्व करेगा, इसलिए हम अपने तीर्थंकरों की शिक्षाओं को सहेजते हैं।
Now, Crown Prince of Dubai and Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Defence of the UAE, Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, visited the Bombay Stock Exchange in Mumbai today. The Crown Prince participated in the ceremonial ringing of the bell, which is a tradition at the BSE or Bombay Stock Exchange, symbolizing the chapter of a new beginning. He reached India on Tuesday for his two-day visit. Now, this high-level visit not only marks a new chapter in India's diplomatic ties with the UAE, but also reinforces the growing strategic, economic and cultural cooperation between the two nations. Now, this is Crown Prince's first visit to India. The Dubai's Crown Prince also visited SEZ in JNPT to inaugurate free trade warehousing zone in around 44 acres area. DP World has developed 3 world-leasing FTWCs in India with an investment of over $200 million. It offers advanced infrastructure, flexible warehousing, ease of regulations and seamless value-added services.
We have Mr. Unmesh Shardwak, the chairman of JNPT. Sir, what are the significance of this SEZ, and when it comes to UAE? We know the bilateral ties, also the Minister of India, multiple ministers have underlined the significance and the essence of the relationship between India and UAE. How do you see this when it comes to JNPT?
Today, His Excellency the Crown Prince of UAE came to JNPA to inaugurate a very big facility of FTWZ in JNPA's SEZ, and we got DP World as our biggest partner. 80 acres of land has been given to the SEZ, which is a DP World's SEZ, which is a company of UAE. 40 acres they have completed, and that is inaugurated by Honorable Deputy Prime Minister of UAE today. 70% of its space already booked, and now they are starting their second unit, which is also in 40 acres. It is a state-of-art SEZ unit, which is called FTWZ. And one very important aspect of this FTWZ, that most of the workers working in this FTWZ of DP World are women. DP World or other UAE company will invest in our Wadwan port also, and at present they have 3 FTWZ in India, and in future they will increase it to much higher numbers, and they will consider India is their prime destination. And the vision put forward by Honorable Prime Minister now becoming reality, and it is this particular FTWZ is the fruit of that vision which our Prime Minister has set before us.
On the ground at this point in time, multiple meetings, review meetings by the ministers and the competent authorities are taking place back to back. With my colleague Krishna, this is Yogesh Kumar Sital reporting for DD India from Maharashtra.
Moving on, the Reserve Bank of India has cut the repo rate by 25 basis points to 6%, bringing relief to home and auto loan borrowers. Now, this is the RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra's second policy decision, shifting to an accommodative stance to support the economic growth. GDP growth projections were reduced to 6.5% for financial year 26 from 6.7%. The Reserve Bank of India's Governor Sanjay Malhotra delivered India's monetary policy statement on Wednesday, outlining key decisions on interest rates, inflation control and economic growth. Take a listen.
After a detailed assessment of the evolving macroeconomic and financial conditions and outlook, the MPC voted unanimously to reduce the policy repo rate by 25 basis points to 6% with immediate effect. I repeat, the MPC voted unanimously to reduce the policy repo rate by 25 basis points to 6% with immediate effect. Consequently, the standing deposit facility, the SDF rate under the liquidity adjustment facility shall stand adjusted to 5.75%. and the marginal standing facility rate or the MSF rate and the bank rate shall stand adjusted to 6.25%.
Meanwhile, inflation is projected at 4%. The RBI Governor said there is greater confidence of a durable alignment of headline inflation with a target of 4% over a 12-month horizon.
The Monetary Policy Committee noted that the inflation is currently below the target. It is supported by a sharp fall in food inflation. Moreover, there is a decisive improvement in the inflation outlook. As per projections, there is now a greater confidence of a durable alignment of headline inflation with the target of 4% over a 12-month horizon.
The Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, BIMSTEC Agriculture Ministers level meeting is taking place in Kathmandu on Wednesday. India's Ministers for Agriculture Shivraj Singh Chauhan and Bhutan's Leonpo Yonten Phuncho are attending the meeting. Nepal's Agriculture Minister Ramnath Adhikari is presiding over the minister-level meeting. The meeting discusses matters related to the status and challenge of agriculture, along with collaboration among the country members. Earlier, the secretary-level meeting was held in Kathmandu, where the secretaries of the Ministries of Agriculture met with each other. The secretary-level meeting had prepared the agenda for the ministerial-level meeting, which is currently being discussed between both the sides. Time now to take a quick and short break, but still to come on the other side. Up next, we'll get you more details on US Secretaries of Defense, his Panama Canal's tour during his visit to the Central American nation. Nearly 98 people killed in Dominican Republic's capital Santo Domingo's roof collapse incident.
Even small shifts can make a big difference. Whether it's the way we commute, what we eat, or the way we power our lives. What can we do today to ensure a greener and more inclusive tomorrow?
The pollution control starts from the procurement of the fuel. So we go for low sulfur and low ash coal.
First step is towards creating a safe, comfortable and risk-free access trips, which is walking.
There are ways in which you can make journeys smoother, more punctual, more reliable by improving, say, signalling, giving bus priority.
The farmers' organization offers them a standard price. When all the farmers are paid the same, you can really see the impact on their lives.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Now it's quickly time to recap the top headlines of the hour. President Draupadi Murmu accorded Guard of Honor, holds joint press statement with President of Slovak Republic in Slovakia. Reserve Bank of India cuts repo rate by 25 basis points to 6% for second straight time, shifts policy stance to accommodative from neutral. Trump tariffs go into effect with a combined 104% levy on China. Global markets react sharply. Trump continues to call it a tailored deal with foreign trade partners. Well, US President Donald Trump's latest round of tariffs came into force shortly after midnight on Wednesday. China condemns bullying as it faces a tariff of 104%. Other major economies seek talks with Washington to escape the trade war. Here's a report. A major escalation in the global trade war as the US President Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs on dozens of countries come into effect on Wednesday. Among the most significant is a massive 104% duty on Chinese goods. President Donald Trump says the tariffs are already bringing in nearly $2 billion a day.
Taking in almost $2 billion a day in tariffs. $2 billion a day. And we're doing very well and making, I call them tailored deals, not off the rack. These are tailored, highly tailored deals. Right now, Japan is flying here to make a deal. South Korea is flying here to make a deal, and others are flying here.
The US appears firmly set on a collision course with China. Beijing faced a 34% hike in tariffs on Wednesday, but when China refused to back down, Trump responded with an additional 50%, bringing the total duties to a staggering 84% increase.
Additional tariffs on Chinese goods are in place effective midnight tonight at 104%. Until they make a deal with us, that's what it's going to be. I think they'll make a deal at some point. China will, they want to make a deal. They really do. They want to make a deal. They just don't know how to get it started because they're proud people.
China has vowed to fight back, pledging countermeasures and promising to defend its economic interests to the very end.
China firmly opposed and will never accept such arrogant and bullying behavior if the US disregards the interest of both countries and the international community and insist on waging a tariff war and trade war. China will definitely retaliate.
Meanwhile, Washington is also scheduling talks with major trading partners. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is expected in the US next week. The European Union, already hit with a 20% tariff, will vote later today on initial countermeasures. Over in Vietnam, the effects are already being felt. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, currently visiting Ho Chi Minh City, is discussing future trade cooperation amid fallout. Prime Ministers of Vietnam, Spain stress on the importance of free trade as Donald Trump tariffs hit.
The fact that the US imposed tariffs on Vietnam will definitely cause difficulties and may hurt the company's competitiveness.
I'm afraid they may cut everything. Salary potentially is lower and will not meet daily needs given prices are rising.
Further in Asia, Taiwan is pushing for quick negotiations, offering a zero tariff deal in response to Trump's 32% tariff on the island. Japan's finance minister says trade talks could also touch on foreign exchange rates. In South Korea, emergency measures are already underway. The government announces swift support for its auto sector, which is a key industry facing major disruption due to the US tariffs.
In response to this unprecedented trade crisis, the government will swiftly implement bold support measures appropriate for this emergency situation.
The rapid tariff rollout is sending shockwaves through global business. Economists warn that US consumers may eventually pay the price, facing higher costs on everything from everyday goods to major imports. Tripti Tripaঠি's report for DD India. US President Donald Trump has signed an executive order to boost the US coal industry, including by loosening environmental regulations and opening federal lands for mining. The orders include efforts to save coal plants that were likely to be retired, including unlocking authorities in the 1950 Defense Production Act to boost coal production. Now, they also direct Energy Secretary Chris White to determine whether coal used in steel production is a critical mineral. In addition to this, the orders further direct Interior Secretary Toke Burgum to acknowledge the end of a moratorium that paused new coal leasing, which allows private companies to buy the right to extract coal on federal lands and to further prioritize the leasing.
Under this order, I'm also directing Secretary Wright to use billions of dollars in federal funding to invest in the next generation of coal technology, which is an amazing technology in terms of getting the full potential of coal and also doing it a very clean, environmental way. In addition, I'm instructing the Department of Justice to identify and fight every single unconstitutional state or local regulation that's putting our coal miners out of business.
Iran on Tuesday responded to US President Donald Trump's announcement of direct talks regarding its nuclear program. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi insisted the negotiations in Oman on Saturday would be indirect, contradicting Trump's surprise announcement on Monday that they would be direct talks. Meanwhile, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said on Tuesday that US-Iran talks in Oman on Saturday will be direct, dismissing discussions that will be indirect.
When it comes to Saturday, I won't get ahead of the president. He has said there will be direct talks with Iran on Saturday. I won't further any details from this podium for obvious reasons, security reasons. It will, provide an update as we always have. However, when it comes to Iran, the president has reimposed crippling sanctions on the Iranian regime, and he's made it very clear to Iran they have a choice to make. You can strike a deal with the president, you can negotiate, or there will be hell to pay.
Now, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has opposed Israel's new plan to control aid deliveries in Gaza, citing concerns over humanitarian principles. The UN chief called for unimpeded access for relief programs, protection for humanitarian personnel, and adherence to international law, urging Israel to fulfill its obligations as an occupying power. Further, Guterres declared that the United Nations would not participate in arrangements that fail to uphold humanity, impartiality, independence, and neutrality.
UN agencies and our partners are ready and determined to deliver. But Israeli authorities' newly proposed authorization mechanisms for aid delivery risk further controlling and callously limiting aid down to the last calorie and grain of flour. Let me be clear, we will not participate in any arrangement that does not fully respect humanitarian principles, humanity, impartiality, independence, and neutrality. Unimpeded humanitarian access must be guaranteed, and humanitarian personnel must be given the protection that they are accorded under international law.
U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth toured the Panama Canal's Miraflores locks on Tuesday during his visit to the Central American nation. Earlier, Hegseth said the United States will take back the Panama Canal from Chinese influence and vowed to deepen security cooperation with Panama's forces.
Together, we will take back the Panama Canal from China's influence. Together with Panama in the lead, we will keep the canal secure and available for all nations.
Now, more than 40% of U.S. container traffic, valued at roughly $270 billion a year, goes through the Panama Canal, accounting for more than 2/3 of vessels passing each day through the world's second busiest interoceanic waterways. Moving on, now Greek workers went on a strike, causing ferries to dock, flights to ground and trains to halt, demanding higher wages to combat rising living costs. Despite a 35% increase in the minimum wage to €880, many households struggle to make ends meet. Unions argue that price hikes and inflation have widened the gap, affecting low-income households. Greece's minimum salary is among the lowest in the European Union, and average salaries remain 10% lower than in 2010. The strike highlights the ongoing challenges in Greece's economy, which has shown growth but still faces issues with income inequality and affordability. Now, solar energy production has grown again in the past year, and that is according to a new study by the Global Electricity Review. And it looks at energy sources in place around the world. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle in Berlin and has looked into the report. Good afternoon, Lars. What can you tell us about the recent growth in solar energy?
Thanks for having me. Well, first and foremost, I can tell you that again this past year, solar was indeed the fastest growing power source. It's been that every year for the past 20 years, and over just the past 3 years, as a matter of fact, solar energy production has more than doubled. Here's your very latest number, a staggering 2,100 terawatt hours. And this amount of solar energy is actually being harvested around the world. The biggest growth last year was in China. That country actually at this point has about half of the world's solar energy production. Now, as we know, China is also a leader in battery technology. Just think of their recent progress in electric mobility and this very drastic shift from combustion engine cars to battery-driven vehicles. Battery power in cars is obviously all the more exciting when you get your electricity from the sun. And with China being the world's largest maker of solar panels and also having some leading technology in energy storage, that makes this another booming sector over there. Of course, here in Europe and in Germany, solar has also seen a more tremendous growth.
And with this impressive growth, what role is solar playing in the global energy mix, Lars?
It is on the rise there too, so we're not just seeing general growth, we're also seeing growth relative to other energy sources. Although wind energy is also growing fast, and that's a good thing too. Obviously, it is important that large parts of the world will eventually get out of fossil power and into renewables. So the experts behind this report are saying we're definitely on track here. Now, besides China, a trend I find very interesting is how solar energy production is really on the rise in some of the BRICS. In general, India is growing fast, Brazil is growing fast, but it's also countries like Chile, Australia. So some countries among the top that are usually more in the midfield of global economies.
All right, thank you so much, Lars, for joining us from Berlin and giving us a rounded perspective. Moving on, in the Dominican Republic's capital, Santo Domingo, nearly 98 people have been killed and more than 150 injured after a roof collapsed at a nightclub. A provincial governor and former Major League Baseball pitcher, Octavio Dotel, were among the victims. Dotel died on the way to hospital after being pulled up from the debris. Also among the victims was Nelsie Cruz, the governor of the Northern Monte Cristi province. The incident happened in the early hours of Tuesday at a concert by a popular Dominican singer, Ruby Perez, who was among those killed. The event was attended by politicians, athletes, and other prominent figures. Hundreds of people were inside the venue, and some 400 rescuers are still searching for survivors. Dominican President Luis Abinader and his wife Raquel Arbache visited the scene of the nightclub and expressed condolences to the families affected. Time for a quick and short break, but still to come on the other side. Up next, we'll get you a quick update mapping global market reactions on tariff trauma. India's Dhruv Kapila and Tanisha Krasto advanced to the mixed doubles pre-quarterfinals at the ongoing Badminton Asian Championship.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium, we'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now to get you all the latest from the world of business. Now, global markets are trading in red on Wednesday. Asian stocks slumped following a sharp decline in the US market as President Donald Trump's plan to impose 104% tariffs on Chinese goods sparked recession fears. China's Shanghai Composite Index fell 1.12% to 3,111.01, while Japan's Nikkei Index dropped 5% and yen rallying at 1%. The S&P 500 plummeted below 5,000 points for the first time in nearly a year, erasing gains from a strong morning rally. Meanwhile, European stocks slumped on Wednesday as US President Donald Trump's tariff took effect. The Stoxx Europe 600 index sank 2.7% on Wednesday morning in London, with every sector declining, while oil prices dived almost 4% on Wednesday on concerns about demand from China. Brent futures plunged 3.7% to $60.5 a barrel, while US crude futures CLC1 also tumbled 4.5% to $56.16 a barrel. Talking about the Indian markets, India's stock market declined on Wednesday, with the Sensex falling 362 points or 0.5% to 73,865 and the Nifty 50 dropping 0.6% to below 22,400. Escalating trade tensions, particularly from the US imposing a 104% tariff on Chinese goods, weighed on the market. Now, the tech sector and metals led the decline. However, the RBI's decision to cut interest rates by 25 basis points to 6% has limited the fall. Despite this, the central bank revisited and revised its GDP forecast downwards to 6.5% for financial year 2025-26. Major stocks like Tech Mahindra, Infosys and Tata Steel saw significant losses. In a significant boost to India's Make in India initiative, Mahindra Aerostructures Private Limited has secured a prestigious contract from Airbus Helicopters to manufacture and assemble the main fuselage of the H-130 light single-engine helicopter. The contract was formally signed in the presence of Union Minister for Civil Aviation, Kinjarapu Ram Mohan Naidu. DD India's Taposh Bhattacharya reports. Take a listen.
Jain is the Union Civil Aviation Minister. Sir, it's a huge opportunity for India to boost its Make in India program with the Airbus coming in. Do you believe that not just Airbus but other Boeing, for instance, also these people also will come and there will be a major input on that?
Yes, today we are seeing a growing interest in manufacturing in aerospace industry in the country itself, and we have to thank the Honorable Prime Minister for his mission of Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat that has created the platform for a lot of these international companies, international industries to set up their factory in India itself. And we have seen similar things happening in aviation industry. But we want to push it more. We see there is a lot more potential right now and we want to grow up on it. And Airbus has been very supportive for it to procure more equipment from the country. And in the last 5 years, we have seen it triple its procurement from 500 million to 1.5 billion. And we are seeing other players like Boeing also and Embraer also. Most of these important OEMs trying to set up their shop here because there is an advantage now to come to India and to manufacture here. The talent is there. The whole ecosystem is getting stronger and stronger. So this the collaboration between Airbus and Mahindra, what has happened today, is going to bolster that confidence to see more and more people come in. Mahindra has also been a very important player in the Indian manufacturing ecosystem. So they also establishing their foothold in aviation creates more confidence for international players.
So is the government doing anything to increase the number of manufacturing when it comes to civil aviation market?
Absolutely. We are encouraging the states also to move into this direction, to set up more aviation parks in their states, so that these regions get created where the ecosystem is built. And especially around the airports, we are trying to talk with the states and create these kind of systems. And from the ministry, whenever it comes to manufacturing, whatever support they need, we are doing it on a mission mode. We have put this as a top priority that we want to increase the manufacturing, and the whole ministry, under the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister, we are supporting it.
Much appreciate your time. So that was the Civil Aviation Minister saying that the impetus is on manufacturing the civil aviation aircraft in the country, as along with the helicopters. With our persons, this is Tapush Bhattacharya for TD India from Delhi.
And under this agreement, Mahindra will produce the H-130's main fuselage assembly that will then be shipped to Airbus helicopters facilities in Europe. President of Aerospace and Defence Vinod Sehai said that industrialization will commence immediately with the first cabin assembly scheduled for delivery by March 2027.
It's actually a very big step in the Indian supply chain for global aerospace industry. India procurement of all the OEMs of aerospace supply chain is increasing. As it would happen, we also started with small metallic components and machine parts. We are going into sub-assembly. This is the first big contract where the entire fuselage of the entire helicopter is what will be made in India for entire world. So ours will be the only facility for Airbus globally where we will be making this fuselage and will be supplying to their final assembly line in Europe. And from there the helicopters will be rolled out to be supplied to Airbus customers across the world.
All right, you're watching DD India News Hour. Now it's time to get you all the latest from the world of sports, to begin with shooting first. And an update from the ISSF's ongoing shooting World Cup. India backed 2 gold medals to surpass China at the medal tally. Suruchi Singh downed the mighty Chinese by overcoming 3 of its athletes to win the gold medal in women's 10-meter air pistol event at the ongoing World Cup in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Meanwhile, in the men's 25-meter rapid-fire pistol, Vijayveer Sidhu won yet another gold to surpass China in the medal tally. India has now won 4 gold medals, a silver and a bronze in the competition. China is currently at the 2nd position, having bagged 3 gold, 2 silver and 3 bronze medals. In badminton, India's Dhruv Kapila and Tanisha Crasto won their opening match to advance into the mixed doubles pre-quarterfinals of the Badminton Asia Championship in China. Up against the Malaysian pair of Ho Pang Ron and Cheng Su-yen in Ningpo City, the Indian pair rallied from a game down to win by 15-21, 21-12 and 21-11. After losing the first game, Kapila and Crasto shifted gears in the second game to take the match into a decider round. The Indian badminton players then carried their momentum into the decider and beat their opponents. Another Indian duo of Ashit Surya and Amruta Pramutesh also moved into the round of 16 in mixed doubles category at the event. In chess, Ian Nepomniachtchi has tied with world number 1 Magnus Carlsen for the top spot after the round-robin stage at the ongoing freestyle chess Grand Slam in Paris. After both the players finished on 8.5 points with 7 victories, 3 draws and a loss, the Russian Grandmaster edged out Magnus Carlsen on tie breaks to finish first. This allowed Nepomniachtchi to pick his quarter-final opponent first, with 34-year-old opting to take on German Grandmaster Vincent Keimer. Carlsen then selected 5th place Nodiberg Abdusattorov of Uzbekistan to face next. Meanwhile, Indian world champion D. Gukesh came back strong on day 2 but could only manage 3.5 points across 11 rounds, leaving him second from bottom in the 12-player standings, with only the top 8 advancing further at the ongoing competition. In cricket, Gujarat Titans will face Rajasthan Royals at Narendra Modi Cricket Stadium in Ahmedabad on Wednesday. After a close defeat in their opening encounter against Punjab Kings, the Gujarat Titans have been on a roll, winning 3 games on the bounce. Their top-heavy batting order of Shubman Gill, Sai Sudarshan and Jos Butler have been responsible for over 70% of their team's run. On the other hand, Royals bounced back after their defeats to Sunrisers Hyderabad and Kolkata Knight Riders. They went on to down the Super Kings and Punjab Kings with conviction. Their batting and bowling both have been clicking so far. All of their players have shown confidence, with Jofra Archer, Mahesh Tikshana and Vaninda Hasuranga bowling to the plants. The positive aspect for Rajasthan Royals in the batting has been the fact that all of their batters are clicking with Nitish Rana, Yashasvi Jaiswal and skipper Sanju Samson, which have done their bit so far. In soccer, Borussia Dortmund will face Barcelona in their Champions League quarterfinals first leg match on Wednesday in Barcelona. Dortmund will be without centre-back Nico Schlotterberg, who will miss rest of the season after injury to his left knee. The 25-year-old injury comes at a crucial time for the club as they chase European qualification for next season. Barcelona, meanwhile, sit at the top of La Liga standings. The two sides have already faced each other once this season in the league phase of the Champions League, with the Germans losing by 3-2 at home ground. And Arsenal, on the other hand, delivered one of the most stunning European displays in their history on Tuesday to beat 10-man Real Madrid by 3-0 at Emirates Stadium and take firm control of their Champions League quarter-final tie. Real Madrid goalkeeper Thibaut Courtois produced a string of magical saves but could do nothing as Declan Rice scored two devastating second-half free kicks before Michael Merino added a third. The Gunners have not reached the Champions League semi-finals since 2009, but Real Madrid, the defending champions, now face a mammoth task to overturn this deficit in next Wednesday's second leg encounter. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as this breaks here on DD India. I'm Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.